Hey there guys, how's it going today? So what you're doing today is you're going to learn about prisms and how to find the volume and the surface area of prisms. So prisms are a certain type of 3D figure, and you can follow along with me if you want to take your own notes on on blank piece of paper or something, or in your notebook. You feel free to do that. So a prism, okay? What are they? Well, put this in here. So a prism is a polyhedron with two congruent and parallel bases. Okay, so what do we mean by that? Well, so let's say, let's put this down for a second. Let's say here I have a triangle. Okay, and now think about this in 3D space. So like maybe a little bit further over and back is another right triangle that's congruent to that first one, and it is parallel in space. So if you think about what parallel means, it means they're not like intersecting, they kind of are going the same direction. So they are parallel in 3D space. And then they're connected with these other edges. Okay, and that's what forms the prism. So then what we have here, we've got our two bases. And then these other sides, so let me grab a different color here. So like this side and your bottom, and then the one in the back there, those are called lateral. Okay. So those are the lateral faces, and the blue ones are the two bases. Okay. So let's maybe look at another example. Think of a different shape. So one of the most common ones might be like a rectangle, making a rectangular prism. Okay, so then if we extend that one back, and then we could make another rectangle back there that would be parallel to that first rectangle I drew. Now in a rectangular prism, really you could make any of the two like opposite sides of the bases, since all of them should be parallel because it's a rectangle, everything's 90 degrees. But it doesn't really matter which one, so I'm just going to pick that first one that I drew and then that last one in the back. And so then all of these other guys would be the lateral. So this would be the lateral, lateral, lateral in the back there, and lateral on the bottom. Okay? And so it's important to note here that a base for a prism can be any type of polygon. So you could have like a hexagonal prism where the two bases are hexagons, or a pentagonal prism where you could have the bases that are pentagons. So I'll just show you what that may kind of look like here in a second. So if I go and look here, So we've got a triangular prism in the top left, a rectangular one, a cube, which would be all squares, and then here's like a pentagonal prism and a hexagonal prism where the bases are those other polygons. Okay? All right, let's go back to this guy. So now, oh, one other thing. So if you are asked to find lateral area, all that means is the area of the lateral faces. Oops. So what that means is that the area of the bases plus lateral area that's going to give us our total surface area for the prism. Okay? All right, moving along. So then how do we find the surface area? Well, we might be able to use a net. So we talked about those nets yesterday. So how do we draw a net? Let's go over that. So let's say I have a prism here. Let's make like a rectangle. And then I'm going to draw this going back. Usually if you see like dotted lines, that usually means those sides are behind the other sides. Okay. And let's give this some measurements. So maybe 5 and 3 and let's say, I don't know, 8. Okay. So let's draw our net. So pick a side to start with. I'm going to pick the front side here. So I'm going to label this my front. So I'm going to start with that. So what does that look like? Well, it's a rectangle, right? And I know that it's a 3. And how high is it? It's 8. Okay. And then maybe I'll draw that other side to the left there. Well, that one extends back 5, so that's going to be 5 units, and it's still going to be 8. Maybe I'll draw then the right side, which is also 5 and 8. And then I've got the little back end somewhere. I need to attach that on. And that guy is also 3 and 8. And then I need the top piece and the bottom piece. So I'm going to attach those to my front. And those, they also extend back 5. So this is going to be 5. This stays 3. And back off this way too. Also going to be 5 and 3. All right, so then using a net, you just break up each of those faces and you find the area of them, which we should know how to do. They're all rectangles. That should be pretty easy. So let's look at this guy here. We know it's 5 and 3, so 3 times 5, base times height. That's going to be 15 for that guy. 8 times 5 for this one, so he'll be 40. This would be 8 times 3, so this guy would be 24. Another 8 times 5, so another 40. Another 24 for 8 times 3. And then this other bottom down here is another 5 times 3. So that guy's going to be 15. Maybe I'll circle those for you so you're not getting confused with what the measurements are versus the area. And then we just add them all together. So let's see, we had a 15 we had 40, 24, we had another 40, another 24, and one more 15. So we add those all together, and what do you get? So we can do this in our head, or you can break it down. Let's break it down. We have 2 of each, basically. So 15 and 15 would give us 30. 40 and 40 would give us 80. 24 and 24 will give us 48. And we add those guys together. So 15 plus 30 is 110, plus 48 should give us 158. Okay, so that's our total surface area using that net. Okay, what about volume? So in order to find our volume, what you're going to need, the general formula is going to be this capital B times H. And what capital B is the area of the base. So pick one of the bases, find the area of that, and you multiply it by the height. And the height, well, that's going to be the length of a lateral edge. So how far back do your lateral sides go? So let's take a look back up here in our example. So since this one's rectangular, again, like it doesn't really matter which sides we use as the base. So let's stick with this front side here, and we're going to use that as our base. Okay. So what's the area of that base? Well, we found it in our net. It was a 3 by 8, so that was 24. So for this one, we said our base is 24. Our lateral edge then, or the height, it went back 5. Oops. I'll show you that up here. So this would be our height. Okay. So 5, so then we need to do the area of the base times the height 5. And what do we get? So let's see, it should give us 120. Okay, so that's the general formula for the area, or I'm sorry, the volume. Find the area of your base and then multiply that by the height, or like the length of the lateral side. All right, moving along. So let's do one more example. I'm going to give you a triangular one this time. So let's say I have a right triangle here, and I'm going to draw the rest of my prism so that it's going to extend back. There we go. And then let's give it some measurements. So let's say this is 6, 3, and then let's say this guy is 9. So how are we going to find the surface area and the volume? Well, you can find the surface area by drawing the net again, or you could just go ahead, you don't have to draw the net, you can just kind of find the area of each of the sides. So what we can do here, so 3 and 6, we can use those to find the area of our base. So the triangles here, or our bases, let's go ahead and do surface area first. So our triangles here, we know that they are 6 and 3. And that's going to be our base and our height for the triangle. Remember, area of the triangle is 1/2, and then it's going to be times the base, which will be 3, times our height, which is 6. So 1/2 times 3 times 6, that should give us 9. So each of those are 9, so I'm going to label that here, 9 and 9. Now what are our other sides? So the lateral sides, those are all rectangles, okay? So one of them, maybe let's look at the bottom one here first. So the bottom one here, 3 by 9, so we're going to write that in. So 3 times 9 will give us 27. And then what about, let's see, this one in the back here, we know that that is 6 by 9. So we can throw that in. Those are going to be 54. And one more thing here we've got is this one that's on the side. So we know it's 9, but we don't have that measurement. How can we find it? We do have a right triangle, so how can you find the length of that side if we have only the 2 other sides? I hope you're thinking about it. What is it? Pythagorean theorem. So we should know how to do that by now. So to find that, so let's call it x. So we know that 6 squared plus 3 squared should be equal to our hypotenuse squared. So then we need to solve. So 6 squared is 36, 3 squared is 9, and then x squared. 36 plus 9 be 45. And then we've got to take the square root. Well, 45 unfortunately is not perfect, so we're just going to leave it. We could simplify it if we want. For this purpose, we could just leave it square root of 45. It's not a big deal. Okay, so back over here. So then we know that that's square root of 45 by 9. So it's just going to be 9 square root of 45. So then our total surface area, we need to add 2 of the bases, which are both 9. So our total surface area, 9 and 9 would give us 18 for our 2 bases. And then we've got 27, 54. And then we got to add in that 9 radical 45. You could get a decimal here, or you can just combine these other numbers, 18 plus 27 plus 54. So what would we get? All right, so that should give us 99 plus 9 square root of 45. So you could leave it just like that. If you want to get a decimal, you can try to plug that into your calculator and see what you get. Mine is giving me 159, and then I'm going to round it 0.4. So either one of those is fine for our surface area. Okay, so now what about the volume? Let's grab a different color here. Let's do green. So our volume, remember we need to do area of the base times the height. Well, we already got the area of the base. We know those little triangles. What do we get for those? Let's look back up here. Our bases are these triangles. So we did 1/2 base times height, 3 times 6, and we got 9 for those. So our area of the base is 9. And then what is our height? Remember, the height is going to be the length of this lateral side. And we know that that is 9. So that's also 9. So then we need to do 9 times 9. And we get 81 for our volume. All right, so that's it for your notes. If you need any help with anything else, ask Mr. Mohammed or the sub, see if they can help you. Get started on the assignment that should be attached to the link with the video in it. It should be just all in the Chromebooks. If you happen to need any extra scrap paper or anything, just ask either the sub or Mr. Mohammed. They should be able to find you some. Other than that, if you need anything else, you can look at section 11.2 in your textbook. Those are over on the shelf if you feel like you need just some extra examples or something. So you can take a look there. But otherwise, I think you guys will be just fine, and hopefully I will see you tomorrow.